There has never been a more important time to move in a vegan direction. Whether you're ready to start, restart, or re-energize your vegan or plant-based practice, this podcast is for you. I'm Michele Olander, life coach, vegan, ADHD matriarch, travel lover, and smoothie loather. And I know that it's the details that get in the way of your vegan journey. But I like to believe that the obstacle is always the way. So every week we meet here where I translate the tools of life coaching and Stoic philosophy. I bring you actionable tips, some laughs, interesting guests, and vegan ideas for everyone at any age. All to help you veg your best. Episode 260, Permission to be Bad. Hey, my picture bestie, it's Michele. Let me ask you something today. When was the last time you fully allowed yourself to be bad at something? Really not good. Unapologetically bad. Terrible. And not by accident, not because you overslept or you didn't care or you messed up, but because you actually chose to try something that was new and awkward and would definitely challenge you, and the results were unquestionably not going to be Instagram worthy, at least not for a while. If you're in your 40s or your 50s or your 60s or beyond, you've gotten awfully good at lots of things, I know. And maybe you're the go-to person at work for certain snafus that come up, or maybe you can plan a family reunion just with credit card points, or bake a cake, or run a community golf tournament like it's nothing. Maybe you are an excellent hiker or cyclist, or the docent at your community museum, or maybe you can get the kids dressed, fed in the car into school on time with 90% accuracy. I am someone who so appreciates mastery and skill wherever I see it and whenever I learn about it. You know, sometimes you really have to hear the story about things to appreciate all the mastery behind it, because, you know, a lot of time mastery only looks amazing for a few minutes, and then it becomes the new normal. It's just what people get used to. As an art historian by training, a lot of what interests me when I go around my region, my town, or if I go to Europe, what interests me is the backstory and the people behind all the things we see all around us: the roads, the cities, the gardens, the civic buildings, the religious buildings, the everyday landscape around us, whether it's farmland or woodland or housing tracts. Every single thing is the result of hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of highly trained human beings over time, making everything around us possible. So I do highly, highly enjoy learning about the skill and the mastery that certain people have. And I am not being modest here. I am not looking for a compliment. I'm not fishing. If I have any mastery at all, I am the proverbial master of none. You know that expression, jack of all trades, master of none? I think I might be master of none. I am an enthusiastic, lifelong learner. And I've occasionally mastered giving myself permission to be bad at things and new at things. And I would really deeply, profoundly love to tell you that I'm the world's authority on something or another, because I grew up around some very masterful people, some real authorities on various subjects. And I guess I always thought or hoped that I'd be an expert with those 10,000 hours of deliberate practice that Malcolm Gladwell talks about behind me. And I did feel some disappointment with myself along the way about this. Along the way, actually, coaching was a big part of this. Along the way, I realized that the problem wasn't that I was a master of none. It was that I was saying it like it was a bad thing. because I actually do love learning loads of things and reading widely and being fascinated by so many different aspects of this human life and this planet and what options there are for us going forward and how we can learn more. I mean, this time and space of technology, yeah, there are some concerns, but it's also such a dream for people who love to learn. And I don't think it's an exaggeration that our most fulfilling, most meaningful, maybe the most exciting things in life come when we are brave enough, willing to be bad at things on purpose. So if you're someone who has, I don't know, if you've been batting around that idea of finding your purpose or finding your passion, and sometimes it feels like you're missing out on it, or you don't have a purpose or a passion, maybe, or that it's eluding you, or you don't have time to figure it out. Maybe you need to go spend a couple weeks in a cabin or travel to Rome or a week by the ocean, all of which I recommend. But if you have a urge in there that says there's got to be a little bit more for you in this life, but you're kind of tired or stuck or secretly afraid of looking silly about it, this episode is about you. Because why is being a beginner so hard? I feel like I've done my best to to show you it doesn't have to be that hard. If you've been following this podcast for a while, yes, it is to support people who want to start or restart or re-energize their plant-based or vegan practice. But the subtext of Veg Your Best is for the sake of all that's holy. Please don't wait to do things you want to do until you've got it all figured out. Don't wait until you know you're going to be great at it, perfect at it, fully ready to commit to it. Anything that's fun and exceptional about my day-to-day life now, it's just because I followed my enthusiasms and along the way stopped making that idea of jack of all trades, master of none. I stopped making that evidence of something that went wrong or where I went wrong. You know, in midlife and later life, I think there are two kinds of competing paths. We can be telling ourselves, we can be criticizing ourselves with, this again? Still? Are you kidding me? Shouldn't you know how to do this by now? Or maybe you're saying, I wish I could, but I've never been good at that kind of thing. That ship has probably sailed anyway. I'm never going to be expert at it or fluent or published or be able to sell it or a prize winner or professional. Sometimes you just think, I'm too old for this. And if you have young people in your life, if you're lucky enough to have access to kids in all their messiness, your heart will literally, I know I need to say figuratively to be correct, but it's so affecting when it happens that my heart literally breaks when I hear a young person say something like, I could never do that. I'm no good at that. I'll never be able to do that. Because we accept that kids are supposed to try things. Kids are supposed to believe that almost anything's possible. But somewhere along the line, we stop trying those new things because we stop feeling safe about being bad at something or being mediocre at something or being a slow learner at something. We stop thinking it's okay to be new at this. I should have done this years ago. And we start to stick to things we know more about, the things we do well, or the things other people would like us to do. It makes sense. It's not our character. It's really the physiology. It is the way our brains are wired to save energy, avoid pain, and seek comfort. New things Challenging new undertakings are none of those things. They take time, they take energy, and they take emotional bandwidth more than most of us are comfortable with. But in addition to encouraging you all to veg your best, I want to suggest that, especially in midlife and beyond, we have to keep giving ourselves permission to be new at things, to be awkward, to be slow and clumsy, to enjoy being bad. I think every midlife adult should intentionally choose to be a beginner at something, to avoid stagnating, to avoid leaving parts of that brain of yours not firing. You might not call it boredom, but your brain knows when you're running on autopilot. And even though your brain might work against you, I believe your brain is hungry for that challenge, for the novelty, to light up on a side of the brain that hasn't been used lately. Maybe for a musical instrument. You know, do you remember if you learned to drive, it might have been terrifying. I'm sure it was for the person who's teaching you. But then it got fun. And then it got, errands, ferrying around the younger siblings and bringing packages to the post office. That's how life works. The brain thrives in that middle place between too easy and too hard, and beginners live there. And being new at something reminds us that we are human. We are not here to have it all figured out. Part of being in community is learning from people who know things we don't know and teaching others what we know. We don't have to have it all figured out to be absolutely essential. And it builds so much compassion, I think, not just for ourselves, but for others who are struggling and learning. Especially, this is one of my soapboxes, especially for discouraged young people. Too many young people think they need to have figured it out. So how do we embrace beginner brain, beginner mind, beginnerhood, especially when your brain might be feeling, this is hard, I'm not getting it, and your inner critic is starting to get personal in the way it's attacking you? Really, just keep doing it. Just keep being willing to do it badly. You know, my favorite podcasts are typically the most homemade ones, the least produced ones. But in anything, let it be messy, let it be awkward. You know, language learners, because I love language learners. I think they're wonderful people. Language learners, why would you choose 0 new language learning just because you will probably never be fluent? Why would you? Why would you ever diminish your enthusiasm for language learning by comparing yourself to someone who speaks the language at a graduate degree level? How is it we can just enjoy what parts we do know? Artists, gardeners, homemakers, plant-based cooks. Let's embrace the mess. And let's also expect that the plans will fall apart. It won't go smoothly. The Zoom link won't work. The food won't taste good sometimes. You will miss a deadline. You will forget your passwords. That's not failure. It feels very frustrating, but that is actually the curriculum, right? What do you do when things fall apart? That is what makes you amazing. Of course, there's the best case scenario syllabus that happens in theory if no one ever gets sick and nothing ever goes wrong. And then there's what we do as people committed to learning when we can't do it perfectly. Now, for sure, learning burns energy. Your brain uses a tremendous amount of glucose when it's working hard. When I'm deep in new territory, I have to make a huge effort to hydrate more, walk more, sleep more, scroll less. I might even have to break my new enthusiasms down into tiny, tiny, but still more than zero actions. And if you'd like to be my friend over at Duolingo, I would love it. Just let me know what your name is over there. Some days I only do 2 minutes of my target languages. Have we talked about this? Have we talked about this lately? I can't remember. But Duolingo, I do at least one tiny chess lesson every day also. It's a pretty new subject over on Duolingo. And I am, by any standard, objectively a terrible chess player. But I do it at least one tiny chess lesson every day, and I have learned things. I have learned to see patterns on that board. I see things now I never, ever believed I would be able to see. But for sure, if I tried to do a whole unit every day or even half a unit a day, I would not be able to keep that up. So this is tortoise energy, not the hare energy. We're taking it slow, just to blow our own minds about what's possible. And don't take yourself seriously. There are probably a number of parts of your life that are super serious. You can't play around. This is not that. Don't create negative identifications about something that's supposed to be enriching and opening and exciting. You're not tech phobic. You're not your last typo. You are a whole, evolving, hilarious, deeply capable, wildly interesting human being, my veggie bestie. Try to let it be lighter. And let's stop comparing our beginnings to someone else's after or even their middle. The people you admire, they started where you are. Your pace is not supposed to match anyone else's. And I think if we would just embrace that, that is the freedom of the second half or the third of life. And stop just listening to your brain. Your brain tells you all kinds of complete nonsense. You want to talk to your brain more than you listen to it, because your brain will tell you things like, oh my God, this is too hard. You can't do it. What? You're still there? You're embarrassing yourself. It's not worth it. Don't fight it. Don't fight it. Just gently say, thanks. Thanks for your input, brain. I've got this. I've got this. So, my veggie bestie, my challenge to you this week is to choose something. Choose something you're willing to be a beginner at. It doesn't have to be useful. Sometimes it's best if it isn't. A class, a hobby, a habit, a conversation, a tech tool, and be bad at it. Be bad at it. Make yourself safe to be bad at it on purpose. You all know I'm doing this 30-day book draft challenge on Substack. And one of the things all the coaches say is, let your mess be your message. So I've heard that for a while, and this has been on my mind for a while, but I am trying to let it actually be the mantra for this season, because I would honestly love you to not associate me with the word mess. I really would. I would love to be I would love to be coiffed and well turned out and well spoken and not awkward. But I'm trying to let mess, the idea of mess being my message, not feel so messy. You know, we admire the artist in her messy studio and the engineer in his lab stuffed with equipment and the writer in her library with books piled to the roof. We accept messes from the experts, but sometimes we don't allow ourselves as newbies to be worthy of it. And I don't think worthy is a term that gets bestowed on us by anyone else. I can almost bet that there's someone in your life who absolutely needs to see you taking yourself seriously. Someone who needs to see you bringing more laughter and lightness to things that fascinate you, not because it matters to anyone else, only because it matters to you. Someone needs to see you doing something just because you want to. Someone needs to see you a little bit afraid and a little bit embarrassed and still doing the thing. You know, we think we're good role models when we're excellent at things, when we're good at it. But people actually need to see us when we're being real. Because I think our willingness to be a beginner, well, your willingness to be a beginner might be the most inspiring thing about you. And it might be, I think it might well be the only inspiring thing about me as a card-carrying master of none. I would love to hear how you have been embracing your beginner mindset. It's a perennial topic here on the podcast and in my coaching. And if you would be willing to share how you do it or have done it, or even if you've struggled with it, I would love to share that with our audience here. And I would love to cheer you on. I would love to be your coach. Your impact, the impact only you can make, it's necessary right now. Not when you have your 10,000 hours. And how fun is getting those 10,000 hours of practice going to be unless we start? Unless you veg your best.
Veg Your Best podcast production, music, and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Veg Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. Something about algorithms, it helps bump us up a little in the rankings, and that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So, until next week, make it easy and veg your best.